25 Yamaha R9. Is it a worthy successor to the R6? In this video, we're going to dive in, do a little bit of investigative research on the specs to kind of compare the two motorcycles and see if it's really worth the claim of being a successor. In 2021, the Yamaha R6 was canceled. It left a hole in the Yamaha lineup where the R7 tried to fill it but didn't have much success, only producing 75 horsepower compared to the R6's 120. This was a huge disappointment to supersport enthusiasts around the globe. While the R7 did look the part, the engine just wasn't up to snuff with what the R6 had for the high thrill horsepower bias that it provided. Fast forward to October 9th, 2024, Yamaha unveils the R9. This motorcycle shares the exact same three-cylinder that you find in the MT-09, the Tracer 9 GT, and the XSR 900. It's a proven workhorse with an even firing order of 120 degrees. It achieves a peak output horsepower of right around 120 horsepower, which is very similar to the R6. We've also got the same advanced riding technology that the R6 had. We have ride modes, traction control, slip control, lift control, and a few other settings, all powered by the Yamaha R1 derived 6-axis Bosch internal measuring unit. Yamaha also claims that this is the lightest frame ever produced and put into a Yamaha Supersport machine. This is a lightweight Delta Box aluminum frame, and in the motorcycle, with fuel added, fairings attached, everything this thing needs to be operational. This bike's tipping the scales at 430 pounds wet, or approximately 10 pounds heavier than the R6. And you might be wondering, if it's heavier, is it really better than the R6, even though it's making the same power? Well, on paper, that's probably an assumption that's safe to make. But what really matters is how this bike performs in the real world. While the R6 did make the same peak horsepower, it arrived much later in the rev range, meaning that you were constantly chasing that horsepower. Now, the R9 has a much more usable power range, revving out lower but obtaining that peak horsepower much sooner, meaning that you can stay, hold, in the lower rev range while achieving similar power numbers, which should give you a more favorable ride, effectively making the bike easier to ride at the same time. To add to that, the R6 didn't have the most torque, whereas the new R9 has a substantial amount of torque provided. Touch on that torque output a little bit more. The 2017 to 2021 model year R6 only made 45.5 pound-feet. This meant that we had to prioritize staying in the horsepower curve to give us any sort of drive out of corners, where now the new R9 makes around 68 foot-pounds of torque. This means that we'll have a significantly improved shove coming out of those turns to get the best drive as we ramp up into the horsepower, letting it take over, flying down those straightaways. A lot of guys are probably going to say that the R9 is just an MT-09, wearing fairings, playing pretend to be a super sport. But that's simply just not the case. The MT-09 boasts a set of 41mm inverted forks that are non-branded from Yamaha. They are fully adjustable, but they're not as nice as the 43mm set of forks that the R9 uses, derived from the R1 and its KYB branded. Full adjustability for compression and rebound damping. To add to the performance aspect of the R9's chassis and everything built around it beyond just the engine, our brakes are upgraded as well over the MT-09. While the MT-09 has a 298mm set of discs up in the front, pinched between a set of Advix calipers, the R9 uses a 320mm dual disc setup provided to us with Brembo Stylema 4-piston calipers and a radial mount up at the top that's going to give us excellent bite and feel of the lever all the way through under any circumstances. There's really not a whole lot more, honestly. For all the stats, though, we haven't ridden this bike, we haven't seen it competing against modern-day Supersport 600s, but with the success that Ducati's had with their Supersport 950, around the same horsepower mark, we can only imagine that the R9 will receive similar success stories. But we want to know what you guys think. Do us a favor, jump into the comments down below, tell us what you think of the R9, let us know if you think we missed anything, or if there's something that you would change about the bike to make it more up to snuff with where you feel it should be. And we're trying to grow this YouTube channel a little bit more, so it'd be awesome to see you guys put a like on this video if you enjoyed this content, and don't forget to subscribe. If we can build up the follower base enough, we have more reason to bring you more content. So please, take action with that, and that's pretty well it. That's gonna wrap this up. We'll see you guys in the next one.